Hey everyone, welcome to another Experience Baseline video. My name is Andy, and I'm a product designer for the Secure stage, and I'll be reviewing the experience of managing vulnerabilities detected in the merge request. Before we dive in, I'll give you a brief overview of the Baseline initiative. First, we start by creating a job to be done. In this case, it is, when committing changes to my project, I want to be made aware if I'm adding risk through vulnerable code so that I know my changes can be merged without increasing the risk of my project. The next thing we would do is document the experience. And while we're doing that, we would be giving emotional grades. So we would either give a positive, neutral, or negative to each of the tasks that are included within our job to be done. Once we're done giving emotional grades, we'll then give letter grades based on the frustration we may have experienced, our task completion, and steps to accomplish a task. So how about we go look at the experience? Okay, so we find ourselves here in the MR. For time purposes, I've run a pipeline with a commit. And now our first task is really to begin understanding if there's any vulnerabilities in this merge request. So right away, I do see them. That's good. They could stand out. I think they could, this whole line could use a little bit of treatment. Seems like a lot to read. And I wonder if we even need to show dismiss vulnerabilities here because they've kind of been deemed as false positives or won't fix by the organization. So, I think one thing to do would be really think about how we're showing new vulnerabilities and how many there are. So if I'm the user now, the next thing I would do is I would probably expand this to see what vulnerabilities are what. And then I see SAST here, SAST vulnerabilities. And I'm kind of just hit by a wall of text here. It's not a very easy list to parse. And it's separated by the type of scanning that's been done, DAS container scanning upwards. And I wonder if that's the proper way to organize this list, because you have a medium vulnerability here, but within this higher list here, which is being prominence, we have low vulnerability. So I do question that. But right now, if I was a user, I'd find this kind of hard to use. So what I would do is I would go on over and see the full report. Let's go and do that. Waiting for this one. Okay. So right now I see it's kind of same separated in that column in the pipeline. Basically just the pipeline view, jobs and licenses here. So maybe if I expand this, yeah, I get another scrolling list. So this is basically the same thing in the MR, just tiny bit different layout, very marginally different. So I would be kind of frustrated if I was the user and I came here from the MR expecting a different list or a better experience. So I would probably close this. I'm going to go back. So that said, now I'm back in this list because there's really no difference. I start reading some of these vulnerabilities and I see that there's all these X's. These seem very redundant. But I do know that we do have checks, green checks, when there are fixed vulnerabilities found in the pipeline. But I wonder if there's a better way to communicate this or eliminate some redundancies. Another thing I see here is the severity label and the confidence label. The really only thing that denotes that this is confidence is that it's parentheses here. So these need some treatments or some columns or some way to identify these as severity and as confidence. And then we start looking at the vulnerability. So here's the title, it's a link, and then we have a file. So I wonder why, we would want to show a file here when I would expect to see the file in the details. So if I go ahead and open it up, unfortunately it does open in a modal. So imagine having to open upwards of 65 modals. If you had to, that'd be pretty rough. So that, again, it's just not a good experience. Here the information's laid out pretty well. some people might not know what find security bugs is, so they might want to click on it and investigate it. And then we have some ambiguous like class and method. I'm not sure if that's adding any value here. And then we have this issue has been created for this vulnerability. So we didn't show that in the list. So this vulnerability has already kind of been being investigated or being looked at. So I'd be pretty annoyed if I was a user and I was clicking all these vulnerabilities that had all these issues. So let's find one that doesn't. Okay, great. And the next thing I would do is I could take action to create an issue or dismiss it. Let's take the route of creating an issue. And it takes me away, but the issue has been created. So that's interesting. I wish I would have just gotten a little notification in the dashboard in the MR instead of been taken away from the page. It would have been nice to know, like, issue has been created, or maybe it gives me a way to edit it right from there as opposed to being taken away, because I'm not done yet. I have to get the merge request merged. So I now have to go back. And going back, yep, the list collapses. And if I was somewhere in the middle of the list, I've lost my place. And with no indication that an issue has been created, that might be even more of a problem. And if we were to say want to remediate this by just going right to the file, we can certainly do that. And it 404'd. I'm wondering if that could just be an error in the test here. So let's try another file. There we go. So it's nice. It highlights the line. It takes me right to the file. Something weird's happening here. This actually could be a bug, or it just could be how I've done this commit, but it does not let me edit this file. So if this was something that's actually happening, that wouldn't be a really good experience, because I can't just edit and commit it to the same branch I'm on. Unfortunately, cannot edit files when you are on the branch. So I wish it would be a little more clear, or I'm not sure why we're taking users here if they can't actually make a change. So that again leads to a pretty poor experience, and it gets pretty hard to try to remediate all these with some of the broken experience. So overall, I'd have to give this experience a D. It is presentable. It does work, but unfortunately, it works with high frustration and probably some workarounds. So a lot of work needs to be done to explore some of these problems. So that's it for baselining the security features in MRs. Have a good one.